All right, welcome back, folks, to the Red Riot Games Grand Archive Regionals in Canada. I am Cam from the Lineage Break podcast, and joining me in the booth is Red Zone Rogue. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Round 6 of 7. So the Swiss rounds are, you know, almost coming to a close here. It's been we've seen a lot of fun and exciting matches here on stream today. I'm sure there's a plethora of Lorraines and Rise just kind of hanging in the wings, but at least we've been enjoying some very fun and exciting matches here. How about you?
Yeah, it looks like we've had a great tournament so far, and lots of like unique and off meta decks we've seen all day. But it looks like we've got ourselves a fire mirror going on here. I'm not exactly sure which flavor of each, but that feels a little bit more, up to speed. I do see a Tristan Grimstalker slowly
What?
crawling across the screen, and I don't know if
What?
that's true, but I sure hope so.
Yeah, that would. I mean, going into round 5, if we have a fire assassin this late in the event, that would be remarkable. Ooh, it's my boy. We got Arthur coming down turn 1, punching on in for a couple points of damage here.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he's actually coming in immortal, which is just like a really solid. Oh yeah, no, he's just coming into the red zone. Um,
yeah,
Pun intended, I guess.
yeah. So like coming in and attacking means that he can pump up his honorable vanguard, which is great. This looks like one of the decks that I have been brewing myself, which is a Fire Xander list that runs basically a lot of aggression and like team pumps, and then you try to finish the game with Rending Flames. Now,
Sure.
currently, we don't actually know what you know champions each respective player is on. We both still have um, the Spirit of Fire as their champions, but looks very close to one of the decks that I've been brewing.
Yeah, a lot of
Um,
aggression for sure. I mean, Arthur is just a huge tempo play. If he gets to stay on the board for any more than the turn that he comes down, he's just another one of these like team pumping effects that are so rare in this game. So anytime that they can stick around is super powerful.
yeah, and then well, speaking of not sticking around, goes immediately to the bin, and that it's fair. Oh, looks like we do have some assassin shenanigans coming in from the player on the far side there. I do believe it is Alex is the one piloting that deck.
Yeah,
And like,
I hope that this Tristan Grimstalker on the bottom of our screen is not a misnomer. If they're making the active choice to go to Tristan, they're my hero.
I mean, Poison Dagger, right? In round 5, we talked about Poison Dagger and how good it is. Poison Dagger is just an insanely powerful card that deals a ton of damage. If you don't know what it does, maybe in case you don't play against a lot of assassins, it comes into play rested, and you can banish it and deal 1 damage to a unit, usually your opponent's champion. And then until end of turn, if that unit would take damage, it takes that much +1. And so it's really, really good against decks that do a bunch of tiny little bits of damage, either from like Lightweaver's Assault or just attacking with a ton of tiny little fire units. You can also make use of this little card called Kohazi Courier, which only attacks for 1, but on hit you get to draw a card and discard a card. And if you discard a fire element card, it deals an additional 1 damage. So Kohazi Courier by herself deals 4 damage with the Poison Dagger, which is not nothing.
Yeah, just
Um,
such an insane force multiplier to, not only have access to these pumps like Arthur, but yeah, like you said, Poison Dagger with cards with like Korhazi Courier is just insane amounts of damage, and you can do that, as early as turn like 2 or 3, and it looks like we're going to play another Arthur. This one is going to come in tapped, so it means he's going to be immortal for the turn, but he's still pumping up that honorable Vanguard, so she's going to get in for 2. But yeah, it just means that Lorraine here cannot deal with this Arthur. There's no way for her to remove him.
yeah, yeah, that's well, it's fire. Yeah, I was gonna say there are ways, but nope, she's not wind. She is fire. Fire's gonna be very very have a tough time dealing with that Arthur here. which means it looks like if I was the Lorraine player here, I would try to set up for the best possible follow-up play, since you
Mhm.
can't actually remove their biggest threat, and removing the Honorable Vanguard is not the most exciting play. Let's put it that way.
Sure. Yeah,
Um,
I mean they've already taken 8 damage here, and especially with that that poison dagger on board from the Xander player, it seems like it's not completely out of the question that Xander just gets to come across for 12 damage next turn.
yeah, that is a lot. It's a lot of damage. They have what, 4 cards in memory, 2 in hand, so Xander could have like a pretty explosive turn. Um, yeah, this is what I like to see out of Fire Assassin. Um, this has been like the deck that I built and have been kind of like toying with ever since Grand Archive came out. I've recently, like I mentioned in previous rounds, pivoted to a Water Xander list, but Fire Assassin is, has a special place in my heart, and yeah, he's got to read the dagger.
Yeah,
Like, that's a lot of damage, dude.
reading that
Um,
one and trying to do the math, see if he's dead.
Yeah, and like Lorraine here being level 1 doesn't have a ton of health, right? Just 20.
Mhm.
Um and how high can you count? The Arthur coming in with the like indestructibility or the immortal keyword is super annoying for Lorraine here.
Yeah, it's very very scary. Something as simple as like a couple more honorable vanguards like might be good enough to do it here. But did we see a spurn to ash cast there on poison dagger? Is that what happened?
I think so, and I would not blame them for doing that.
Yeah.
That I think that's a pretty good target for a Sprint Ash.
That at least alleviates some of the pressure. Without poison dagger, it seems virtually impossible that you're dead next turn. Not to say that you'll be in a good position, but with this amount of resources, it's going to be hard to come across for 12, which just goes to show how powerful poison dagger is as a card.
One thing I'd like to note, I just got word from the tournament organizer here that this is table 1. These are the top
Wow.
seeded decks.
Okay.
And we have Fire Assassin versus Fire Lorraine in the top spot. And, love to see Fire Assassin here with a very strong, showing. And I also got word that Tristan is correct. This deck runs Tristan, which
I
is
love that.
also very, very interesting. Um, Tristan is just really great for cleaning up the board, basically. She excels at just killing units. And the reason you would want that in a deck like this is that you can clear up the big units that are going to stand in your way, so all of your little guys can just push through and kill your opponent.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's a Korhazi Courier. I know that card.
Yeah, it's got great art.
It does actually have great art. I believe the artist Faicha. Um, but yeah, this card is very powerful. It attacks, and when it deals when it connects, then you get a loot, and then if you discarded a fire card, you get to pick anything and deal 1 damage to it. And then it also has stealth, which is just also very, very good. Um, Lorraine here, if I was Lorraine, I'm looking for a big board wipe, right? I'm looking for my flame sweep. I want to level up flame sweep. That's kind of the best scenario, I think, for Lorraine, given the position they're currently in.
Yeah, we saw like
And
a snap level up to 2, which makes me think maybe they do have the flame sweep, or they're just very very confident in their decision making. But oh, it looks like it's just a rending flames here.
yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And currently, that's take out the Arthur, because Arthur presents so much damage. Man, if that spurn to ash play on the dagger was a very, very key play here, because that turn represented an absurd amount of damage. I mentioned Korhazi Courier pushing 4 damage, and it definitely could have done that and almost closed out the game, right?
Yeah, I think they were almost certainly dead if they didn't blow up that poison dagger. So huge heads up play by the Lorraine player.
Yeah. Here we have just a good old Grand Crusader ring coming out on Xander's side of the field, who very well may be Tristan sooner.
Sure.
Um, But yeah, I think the big downside of this, and this is like my knowledge for this is the deck that I play probably the most, except for maybe the water variant, is the biggest weakness of Fire Xander is card draw. You can have a lot of aggression and a lot of filtering, but not a lot of card draw. You have cards that loot, let you draw a card and discard a card. So just raw card advantage is something that's pretty important in the deck, as well as just getting key pieces of floating memory, because currently Fire Assassin doesn't actually have a ton of great pieces of floating memory. Um, my list runs the Tempered Steel just for that, though you can kind of get a little bit of value out of it. But
Wow, what a flurry of blows here. We saw Gildas come down, balance active, come across for 4, and then with the remaining 3 cards in their hand, they played a plant explosive prepared for the extra
oh,
4 to get across
oh,
the
I
line.
love it. Oh, I love it. This this is it's pretty darn close to my deck list. I don't run planted explosives, which is pretty sweet though. It's a an assassin ability that deals 2 damage, and then if you prep it, it does 4. Right?
Yeah.
Um, I dig it. I dig it quite a bit. This is like your classic red deck wins style of deck. I also run Gildas in my deck, so love to see it here. And
Yeah, that
we
was like
mentioned it
turn
earlier.
3 or something.
Yeah, Gildas can just crush. Um, the fact that we got word that this is Tristan tells me that they're all in on aggro, right? They don't care about the Lux shenanigans. They just want to kill their opponent as quick as possible. And um, my Fire Assassin deck also doesn't run any Lux except for I run Excalibur in the sideboard to clean up very, very pesky threats. But that's it. That's literally the only Luxem card that I have. Um, and that's also why I run Xander Korhazi's Chosen instead. Though, you know what? Maybe this will have me looking at Tristan. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, such a lightning fast game, and especially, I assume it comes as somewhat of a shock to the Fire Lorraine player, who is almost always the aggressor. That this Xander deck came out so much faster than they did. So I think hopefully they're looking for cards like Deflecting Edge, and maybe some spot removal. But it really, usually these Fire Lorraine decks, since they're so used to being the aggressor, they don't pack sideboard cards for aggressive decks, right? They usually just look to race, so they might be in some trouble here if they don't have access to, Deflecting Edge or Focus Flames or any of those, pieces of removal.
Yeah, and I do want to say that, like I said, the biggest weakness of Fire Xander typically is gassing out, running out of cards. Um, and that is something that's gonna have to be very much paid attention to in this second match here. You don't want to run out of cards, and then all you have are just all these like little weenies, like you're top decking your like little 1/2s and stuff. Um, which in tandem with everything else, very strong, just like any other aggro deck. But by itself, you're just drawing into something like this, which is your Kingdom Informant, just like 1/2 with stealth. Like drawing that late game when you've gassed out isn't the best.
Yeah, and I think maybe an unorthodox play here that hopefully works out for them is the Lorraine player lost the first game, so it was their choice to go first or second, and they chose to go second.
Yeah, that is actually kind of interesting. Maybe, I don't want to read too much into it, but perhaps that could be what they're thinking. Maybe I'll let my opponent go first, and perhaps they will either gas themselves out, or I will end up with more advantage like over time than they do.
Right, just fight over card advantage here.
And here we have a card that I think is pretty key to both decks, Hasty Messenger. Great for filtering and great for setting up floating memory. We did see them discard a floating memory card. That is the Idle Thoughts there, which is great. And then here we have another floating memory card just getting immediately binned to level up into Xander level 1. I'm very curious to see this Fire Xander's list. It looks super close to the one that I'm playing, but there's a little bit of differences here. So very curious to see what they're kind of throwing out. It's definitely not currently a meta deck, but who knows? After a showing like today, like I said, this is the top tables. it could end up being a actual meta list. And
Yeah, I mean
then
these are both 5-0 players, so assumingly if this Fire Xander player wins either this match or the next one, they'll be locked for top 8. So a really great showing. Maybe, people just weren't ready for how aggressive this deck can be. And look at this. Like we come in with a Kingdom Informant into an Honorable Vanguard into a, is that a Blitz Mage over there?
yep,
Just
that's a Blitz
absolutely
Mage.
putting damage on the board.
Oh, I love this deck. Blitz Mage is just the 3/1, but it's also just the 3/1, right? You get gonna punch him for 3 damage, and then your opponent has to clear it out. Once again, this is another turn where Lorraine just really wants a sweeper. Like that's what they want. That's like the best card in their deck right now is likely Flame Sweep. So leveling up to 2 and then doing a Flame Sweep is going to be really big.
Yeah, I mean they didn't even necessarily need to be level 2. The flame sweep for 2 with their sword here would have been good
Yep.
enough, and I think that goes to show, like you said, how powerful that card is going to be in this matchup.
Yeah, and here we have just a nice little. So they played the messenger. They attacked into the Blitz Mage, and then they sacked the messenger with a cremation ritual, I think.
Yeah,
These players clearly knowing exactly what they're doing. They're playing very, very fast. Like the last game ended in like the span of like 5 seconds from the start of the turn, right?
yeah, and thank God that they are, since all of these games have been going so long today. They really
Yeah.
need to play with the utmost speed.
Yeah, hey, it's refreshing, right? We
Right,
have like hour-long rounds, and the games last like no more than like 20 minutes or so. I
right.
think our longest one was like 40 something minutes, which was round 5.
Yeah, that
Um,
last game went pretty long, but even still, right, they still ended with 20 minutes on the clock. And yeah, like you said, the first game of this match ended, I think, in like under 10 minutes. They were really, racing to a conclusion here.
yeah, and we can't quite see the life totals here, but I do think the Lorraine has taken a good chunk of damage so far.
Yeah, she's taken at least 6. That Blitz Mage, trading not only for 3 damage, but then, soaking an attack on the crackback is, pretty valuable for a card that has no text, right? It's just a 3/1.
Yeah, it's 3 damage. It's really solid. It's a card that I've been toying with, like putting in the deck, taking out the deck. Currently, it's not in my list, but I do really like the inclusion. It is just an all-in aggro, hit you in the face as hard as possible kind of card.
Right.
Um, and that's kind of what this deck wants to do. It just wants to kill your opponent as fast as possible using a traditional like aggro deck strategy, right? Play dudes, attack with the dudes. Um, yeah, there's no combo shenanigans here, though. I would be remiss to think that they are not including Rending Flames as kind of like finisher.
Right.
Um, but it's not the same as like, Fire or Rye or something like that. This is more of a chip you down with my dudes and then maybe finish you off with a, 6 to 12 attack, Rending Flames.
Yeah, I mean it's a tale as old as time in trading card games that when a format is new, aggro, like red deck wins, lightning fast aggro will always rise to the top, and then as the format ages, people tend to lean more towards control. But since we've had this format for long enough, where a lot of these decks are sort of leaning towards the end game, these Luxem Xander decks, these Crux Lorraine decks, sometimes you can just get underneath those people with a fast aggro deck like this.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, when I look at any competitive card game, I think a good sign of a healthy meta is if both aggro decks and control decks are viable choices when entering into a tournament. Um, it means that multiple deck styles and archetypes are playable, and so you're not just like all aggro mirror matches or all like control mirror matches. There's mid range too. That definitely is an option, and I think all 3 of those do exist currently in Grand Archive.
So we
Um,
found that big flame sweep here off of the level 2 Lorraine.
Yep.
It's exactly what the doctor ordered. It's gonna wipe your board, draw 3 cards, and that is definitely huge. It's what Lorraine needs to get back into this.
Yeah, that's exactly what they needed, and um, unfortunately, that will take out some of the stealth units on Xander's side because it just hits them all, right?
Right.
You don't need to direct the attack towards the stealth unit; you direct the attack towards everything. So it just kind of gets around that.
Yeah.
Um, so this is one of the situations where Fire Xander still has a decent grip, right? He's got like 6 total cards between cards in hand, cards in memory. Um, Once again, as the Fire aggro Xander player, gassing out is my main concern. Um, and big old board sweepers like that, a nice old like was that like a 6-for-1? It was
Yeah.
crazy because like kill 3 dudes, also draw 3 cards. Crazy.
Yes, 6-for-1 and also deal you 4 damage is so
Yeah.
huge.
Yep. Yeah. I can't forget that too. Right.
Yeah.
And this is Fire Lorraine, which it will want to push some big damage as well. Even though they've been kind of forced into the more controlling position here, they still are an explosive deck.
Yeah, such a huge turn for them, going Flame Sweep into a Dungeon Guide, bolster their life total a little bit, which, like you said, we don't quite exactly see the Lorraine player's life total here, but, bringing up that 4 life is great when you're under pressure from this deck that can do any number of planet explosives and blazing throws and what have you to sort of, get over the finish line.
Yeah, and here we have Xander materializing an orb of slowdown, as I like to call it, into a favorite, obviously, Karazi Courier. Just an excellent card, pushing in some damage. Looks like they're discarding a Rending Flames, which is interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Rending Flames, threatens a lot of damage, and so the I'm trying to think of reasons why they might be wanting to discard that, and perhaps the rest of their hand can just push more damage than that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Um,
I can't see any of their cards in hand. Maybe they were just looting off the top. It was like draw and discard whatever the top card is. I can't see. I thought they had extra cards in hand, though.
yeah, they had at the start of the turn, they had 3 in hand and 3 in material.
Sure.
So they should at least have 3-ish
One
in
floating over,
hand,
yeah.
because they drew for turn.
Right.
We did have the orb activation on Lorraine's turn, so all of their things are going to cost 1 more, which is it's not saying nothing, right? Especially on a turn where they just drew like a ton of cards. They're going to be wanting to play as many things as possible. And I think this was a great activation of the orb. Xander's just like, hey, you know what? You can try to do all of your shenanigans, but if you're going to try to this turn, it's going to cost you.
Yeah, it's at least going to make those Spirit Blood Ascensions cost 2, which, at that rate, card is still absurd, but, it's going to slow them down a little bit. It makes cards like Cruxite a little bit harder to resolve because it costs 3, so you don't, net any reserve there. So, yeah, I think a great play by the Xander player, but it looks like it wasn't enough to stop them from casting Spirit Blade and Soul, so that's going to get them a huge amount of value here. And
Yeah.
it looks like Xander's scooping it up, as that should be enough damage to go to the finish line. He's only Xander level 1, so he only had 10 health remaining, so the Ensoul itself should do more than enough to get the job done.
There you go. Either way, this is blazing fast. Hey, we actually finally got a round 3 here, or game 3, here at the top tables. Just this massive blitz fire off, which it speaks to me. It does speak to me once again, even though I've been playing a lot of water recently. Fire is like, the core of my enjoyment in Grand Archive so far. Whether it be Fire Rye or Fire Xander. Yeah, so I dig this. Win fast or lose fast. That's my motto. Either way, the game's gonna be done.
Yeah, it's such a powerful element and has so many tools too that I can see why people find it so appealing to play Fire, that you have so much manipulation of your hand, not necessarily card advantage, but you have so many ways to filter for cards that you need, and so you're always like taking game actions and progressing the board state. So I think that is obviously why Fire is so popular, and obviously its power level contributes to that as well.
Yeah. Once again, I'm still very curious to see the rest of the Fire Xander's deck list. There's a lot of cards that I'm curious as to whether or not they're running. Cards like Inspiring Call or Spark Fairy that can just either give you card advantage or just push just a bunch of damage. Or even Clumsy Apprentice, though I think Clumsy Apprentice, the current meta might be a little too fast for Clumsy Apprentice. You might end up killing yourself. But
Right.
like I said, live fast, die fast. So here we have Arthur just coming in. This one will come in with the invulnerable keyword because, well, he can't attack his opponent's face because they don't have a face to attack yet.
Yeah, such a great play on turn one. Like so often, these aggro decks want to resolve threats, right? But if you resolve a threat on turn one, and your opponent doesn't have a hero, and then they end up killing that ally, it means that they didn't really get any value. So Arthur is so great that you can drop him on the first turn of the game and guarantee that he survives until your next turn.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, when we first saw Arthur, I called him my boy. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Arthur. I think he is one of. I'm not gonna say he's the most underrated card, but he's very, very good. And I think everyone thinks he's like pretty good, but I think he's better than that. I think he's like
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think for the power level of the card, he definitely is underrepresented. Like you don't see him very often, even in like these Fire Lorraine decks that could probably make pretty good use of Arthur. Just opt not to play him. So
and
I can
yeah,
agree with you on that.
his opponent following that up with Gildas into an honorable vanguard just to punch face. I think Gildas there does not have the balance, so still just coming in for 2, right? Pushing a total of 4 damage. Lorraine here is I can't quite tell the card. It's in the glare. I think it might be a messenger.
Yeah, it looks like a hasty messenger to me, but again, they're already under such pressure. There's so much damage on the board, especially if the Xander player can turn on balance this turn for Gildas. Gildas herself is coming across for 5. The rest of your board is coming in for 4. You have that poison dagger on board. Again, we're in that like dangerous situation where if the board state doesn't change much, Lorraine might just be dead on the crackback.
Yeah, and we have talked about this before, but technically this is like a Tristan deck, but we haven't even seen Tristan come out. The games are so fast that you don't really see Tristan. I imagine they're mostly running Tristan either to clear the way if your opponent plays some giant wall, you know, like a tamer player playing like a big old like 1/6 or something like that. Um, but also level 2 Tristan has more health than level 2 Xander.
Sure.
Um, and I think that could be like a very valid reason to run that instead. Um, especially when you don't think the game is going to get too long. Immediately tossing the messenger into the fire and drawing some cards.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't think we're going to be lucky enough, at least in this match, to see Tristan. But hopefully we see these players again later on in the tournament, since they're doing so well already, and maybe we can see Tristan on stream just
Yeah.
once.
Hey, yo, maybe we'll see this fire Xander versus that water Lorraine we saw earlier.
True, yeah.
Here we have Grand Crusader's Ring. Just kind of come on in. Just absolute staple. Drawing up some cards whenever he wants. Which is currently maybe not right now. He's kind of just thinking about what he's gonna do. Once again, we don't have the life totals here, so we don't know how low can you go is Lorraine, but I would imagine like pretty hurt,
It's
right?
pretty dire, I think. Yeah, the only one we can see is that the Xander player has taken a whole 2 damage, and I assume that the Lorraine player has taken a lot more than that. And even though she has the most health in the game right now, 20 isn't that big of a number.
Yeah, especially since we've seen so much damage like the last couple turns. We've seen like 4 come out just a turn ago, and then we've had you know more in previous turns. Oh, hey, look, another Gildas.
Man, we
It's the
can't tell if
Gildas.
we have balance here, but that's
He
really frightening if we do.
does have cards in hand. Is that balance? Yeah, that's game. Yeah.
Yeah, my
Wow.
God, so fast. We finally got that game 3 that we wanted, and yet the whole match is still over in under 20 minutes. What a deck that Fire Aggro Xander, just absolutely mopping the floor with people, and that puts that player at 6-0. So it looks like it's been going pretty well all day.